Hello and welcome to Kismet Mystic. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Jackie Abramov, and this podcast is Kismet. It is my offering to the collective for anyone who's interested in seeking a deeper understanding of themselves and of the world around them. So if you're listening, please know that your likes and subscribes are very supportive to me. And if you want to connect with me outside of this format, you can reach me on Instagram at Kismet Mystic or at my website, kismetmystic.com. All right, I want to just jump right in. We are coming up on this new moon in Scorpio, and it is a powerful new moon. And new moons are significant for new beginnings. The sun and the moon are coming together in a new cycle. Now, the cycle we're looking at isn't just the next 2 weeks, because we have the moon in Scorpio, and in 2 weeks, the moon will not be in Scorpio. So the new moon in Scorpio happens now, and the full moon in Scorpio is going to happen in about 6 months from now. It'll be a little bit less than that, but it'll be during Taurus season. So you want to be thinking about what are the new beginnings that you're entering into and embarking on for this next 6-month cycle. This could be a very potent time, and the things that are coming up could be things that you've been working on for quite a period of time. So this new moon's happening at 9 degrees of Scorpio. So you want to check that placement in your chart and see where is 9 degrees of Scorpio. Is that connecting with any planets or points? Is that connecting with any planets or points in Taurus or Leo or Aquarius? Those are the fixed signs. So if you have any planets or points around 8, 9, 10 degrees of those signs, you may also be feeling this very intensely. But this new moon is for everyone, and we can work intentionally with it. So I'm going to share this screen. Let's see, so that you can see the chart. Here, okay, perfect. So as you can see, here is the chart. Here's the new moon happening in Scorpio, and there's some very profound aspects that are happening in conjunction with this new moon. So for one, we have this opposition with Mars and Pluto, and then we have this asteroid Juno, which I included in the chart, that's in a T-square to Mars and Pluto. And then we have a grand trine happening, and we have a strong sextile with Jupiter and Chiron, and Mercury is also making a very strong aspect to Mars and Pluto. So lots happening with this moon cycle. Now, one thing I do want to say is that just beginning to talk about what Scorpio is and the energy of Scorpio, because this is a moon cycle that relates to Scorpio themes. And Scorpio is this energy that connects us to the underworld, the unseen world. This is the things that are in the darkness, in the shadows. Scorpio represents our unconscious mind. This is the deepest and darkest parts of our unconscious. That's why we call it the shadow. This is an energy that tells us what we're saying to ourselves about our own sense of worth or worthiness. What are we basing our worth and worthiness on? That's in our shadow, that's in our unconscious, that we may not be consciously thinking about our worth in this way, but unconsciously we are. Scorpio is a complex energy, right? It's also intense, and it relates to these deep matters of our soul. What are we passionate about? What are we hungry for? Scorpio has to do with power. Where do we get power from? This is the way that our thoughts really interconnect with our body and our core and deep in our belly. Scorpio is that energy that lies deep in the loins. It's about the things that we're fearful of, what we're afraid to admit, right? Our shadow is the things we're afraid to see, the things we're afraid to admit about ourselves. It's the things we're afraid of in life. And, the things that we're actually passionate about often become things that we push away into our shadow. So the shadow isn't necessarily always this scary thing. Sometimes the things that are in our shadow are actually very potent and magical and important. Scorpio relates to what we're desiring and the things that we want in life, but we are afraid that if we go after these things, that we might let ourselves down, or we might get let down from someone. Scorpio also has this feeling of interconnectedness. How are we feeling attached to connections, to people, to money, to life? What are we clinging onto in order to find that sense of security, safety? That is often something we hide from ourselves. We are usually not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm clinging onto this relationship because I'm afraid if I lose it, that I will lose myself. We don't consciously think that because that is something that we wouldn't want to think that we're doing. And that's why Scorpio also has this kind of deceptive energy, things that we don't want to talk about. It's the taboo. It's the things we don't like to acknowledge because we think that they don't make us look good. Scorpio strongly relates to money and themes of how we are connected to our money and other people's money. Our fears are very connected to the scorpionic energy. What are we so afraid of losing? Now, Scorpio is also incredibly magnetic. It's magical. It relates to this inner power of how we're connected to the entire universe. When we think of Scorpio in our physical body, it relates to our reproductive organ, to our large intestines, and to our colon. It's very connected with this, with our excretion, which is again some topic that's like taboo that we don't like to talk about. Sex, that thing that is uncomfortable for us to talk about in a deep way with those that we love. Intimacy, right? It also has this energy of releasing and letting go. That's where the excretion comes from and the things that have to do with the colon. But it's also this like constricting and expanding, but not necessarily in the theme. It's like deep inside the way we're processing life through constriction and expansion. Now, this brings up this idea of our awakening process because Scorpio represents the scorpion energy, but it's also the phoenix rising. It's also the eagle. And so there's a lot of Scorpio energy that can relate to how we're awakening with that Kundalini energy. Kundalini is the energy that is at the base of our spine that is lying dormant, that's waiting to spiral up our spine the way a snake spirals up, which is a scorpionic process. It's happening on the inside of us. And it can actually be scary to awaken these energies because then we become responsible for them. So everything that's hidden deep inside of us has this sense of it feeling complex or scary or exhausting, right? There's a lot of fear around going into the deeper things because it feels like too much will get stuck there. But actually, the things that are deep inside are not complex. They're actually very simple. The mysteries of life, which are connected to Scorpio, they're not hard to understand. The difficulty is that they require us to look at ourselves, to look at our darkness without resistance. They require us to look into our shadow and not deny it. It requires us to see. Awakening requires us to see the things that we have labeled bad or not good, and to be able to bring them close to us without resisting or rejecting that part of us. This is what makes this inner world and the inner parts of us and awakening feel difficult or complex. We do not like to look at our own darkness. We don't like to identify with things we have labeled as bad or evil. And those are the very things that keep us trapped in our shadow. They're the very things that keep us stuck in life. Right? We don't want to talk about excretion and purging. We don't want to identify with the things that are unsightly or unlovely. But that's precisely what Scorpio asks us to do, to look deep within, to see it all, to hold it all, to not resist it. Scorpio is also the things that we are attracting to us. And we attract life to us through our unconscious. So our shadow is vital if we are wanting to build a life and an inner state of peace or equilibrium. Then we have to be able to look into the unconscious and the shadow. So lots of deep things with this Scorpionic energy. And the beauty of it is we can only be where we are in our journey. There is no rush for us to go any further. Our soul is ready for what it's ready for at this time and nothing more. And in a year, in a month, in 6 months, we'll be ready for something else. So during a new moon, a new beginning, we're also experiencing an ending of something, a closing of a chapter, because the new moon symbolizes the opening of a chapter. There is also a closing. So maybe this is a time where you're closing out some of the things that you've attracted in. Maybe now you're ready to start thinking about what you want to consciously attract into your life now. And this is where the intention setting comes in for this new moon. What part of your shadow is ready to be seen, to rise up out of the ashes, out of the darkness, and to come into the light? What is the darkness and the magic that's hiding in that shadow element? How can you bring love to that part of you? Accept it. Maybe you want to ask yourself, what part of my shadow is ready to be embodied so that I can align now with my soul's truth? Maybe you want to be thinking about what kinds of passions are being ignited on the inside of you. Not passions for people, passions that enliven you, that bring you inner power. Because Scorpio relates to our personal power. Now, often in our unconscious, we are extracting power from people and from relationships. And we do that in an unconscious way. Scorpio invites us to become powerful from within, where we find everything that we need within ourselves. I also want to note that Scorpio can be this energy that relates to like lies and secrets and deception. So you may want to ask yourself, what are the secrets I've been trying to keep from myself? Because when we're afraid of losing attachment, money, or safety in the world, will often lie to ourselves or to others in order to try to stay safe. And again, this is our shadow. This is where we want to bring compassion and understanding and not judgment. So the one last element that I want to touch on here with Scorpio is this intimacy. Scorpio is all about how can we intimately connect with one another, right? Scorpio has always been related with sex and sexuality, and that has to do with this sense of uniting and having this deep inner connection with another being. So often we are actually not connecting on a truly deep, intimate level. And this is because we are connecting with people in the way that we want them to be. We are only seeing the image of what we want and not the reality. So if you want to have deep, intimate connections with someone, it is required that you're able to hold that part of you that is not so lovely, because every human has within them the part that is not lovely. And in order to see beyond the image, to look under the veil, which that is a Scorpio concept of looking under the veil, seeing into the unseen world, then we have to see into ourselves in order to have that kind of true intimacy with another. Then we can accept their imperfections. Then we can accept their weird, messy, taboo quality without judgment. So maybe one other intention that you want to set during this new moon is, what mask are you hiding under? Can you take that mask off? Can you be fully seen? Can you let another person see you without the mask so that you can see them without theirs? Let me talk about some of these aspects with the moon. Now, Saturn is making a trine to the moon, and Saturn's been in Pisces. It's been working with us on these deeper illusions and the unconscious. This is a really great time to be supported in actually taking ownership and taking responsibility for the parts of us that are stuck in illusions. And I would say this T-square with Mars and Pluto being in opposition and Juno being in a square to each of them is a huge part of this new moon cycle. Now, Juno represents our committed partnerships, our committed relationships. This could be business partners. This could be a spouse. This could be a lover, a friend, someone that you have a commitment with. And Juno kind of being in this T-square, it's the apex planet. It is bringing an element of needing to see what is happening. Possibly this could be a trigger that happens in the middle of something very challenging. Mars is in Cancer, which is our innermost self. This is the way that we need love and nurturing. This is the way we're seeking to be loved and nurtured. And then Pluto is in Capricorn, which is our outermost self energy. It's about how we're showing up in the world, how we are taking authority over our lives. And so there's a tension here where maybe we're wanting to change the way we're showing up in a relationship or in a partnership. Maybe we're wanting to grow inwardly and bring that out into the world. And it can be hard to do that, right? With this Juno in a square, it could be that you're feeling tension over the way you've been in a relationship or in a partnership. And now you're ready to take this next level of healing, this next level of transformation. but you don't know how to do that with a partner. This is a profound time for learning to communicate your needs, who you truly are. This could be, like I said, over this next 6 months, this could be a period of time where you are releasing a relationship, or you're releasing your attachments to the way you were in a relationship. It could also be a time of healing or building a relationship. So there might be a blend or a mix of that energy of you're going to take this time to really examine and think about how you are ready to show up in relationship and how you want to stop showing up in that relationship. That square shows that there's a struggle, that it's not necessarily going to be easy. Now we have Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, and it's making a trine to both Mars and a sextile to Pluto. So this could be super supportive in giving you the ability to speak from the heart, to say your truth, to divulge more intimately. Some people are going to take this energy and they're going to work very well with it. We have that grand trine energy. It's incredibly supportive for authenticity. This is offering us this time to see more deeply into ourselves so that we can connect more deeply in our relationships, specifically committed partnerships, or the commitment that we are making to ourselves during this time. Now, Uranus is also in an opposition with Mercury, and that opposition could definitely bring in some really shocking or surprising changes, communications, things we were not expecting. And this, again, could last that entire 6-month cycle, or just something may drastically change. This could even be like your partner is now ready to go to the next level, and you didn't think they were going to be ready, and now they're ready to go deeper with you. This could be the opposite, which is that you find out some really surprising news that shakes up your world, shakes up your earth, shakes up your sense of stability with a partner. And this could also bring in a ton of synchronicity. There's a lot of intuitive energy, so powerful time for doing the work. And especially like what is going to truly nurture you. Because we've Mars in Cancer for such a long period of time, and it may be even that Mars is going to be in Cancer all the way till April. So probably around, I don't remember what day the full moon in Scorpio is going to be, but it seems that this is a really important connection to our Mars energy, which has to do with taking action. And taking action in regards to our home, our family, how we are wanting to nurture ourselves, what is limiting us, and how can we release and let go of that. Jupiter's in the sextile to Chiron. That's a great just healing energy. There's so much healing energy. This is higher guidance that could be coming to you, opportunities to expand, definitely working with healing your stories. Jupiter in Gemini is supporting us to heal our inner stories. So one last thing I want to talk about just briefly during this new moon is that you do want to consider that everything that's hidden in your shadow is what you fear, and it is what holds your freedom. But do be aware that there is a kind of an epidemic in mankind that we struggle with. And it's related to Scorpio energy, and it has to do with spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing is when we don't want to actually do the inner work. We want to just know the truth about something. We want to get knowledge and information, but we don't want to actually go in and see our darkness and see our shadow, see our grief and our rage, and feel it and deal with it. Spiritual bypassing is avoiding the grief, avoiding the anger, avoiding the rage, avoiding the traumas, and instead just trying to reprogram, just trying to do affirmation. And to people who do this, it's fine. You can spiritual bypass your whole life, but you will never feel free, because freedom means we actually go in and deal with the things that are hidden. And inner rage and sadness and pain and grief, they're very connected, right? Everything kind of is under that grief spectrum. So even if you're going to use the words like transmuting, transmuting has to do with fully engaging in the energy. It means going into it, and then it no longer has power over you. So if something still has power over you, if you're still getting triggered, even if you're not responding in the same way, then that thing has power over you. You haven't transmuted it. And spiritual bypassing would be to tell yourself, oh, you've dealt with that. But you haven't dealt with it if it's still coming up. And it's okay if we haven't dealt with it. We're not perfect. But we don't want to lie to ourselves. That's Scorpios. Just stuff it down. Just tell yourself you're good. Tell yourself you can get through it. That's not freedom. It will serve some people, though. And it's okay if that's the journey that you're on or other people are on. But true freedom has to do with transmutation, which has to do with going fully in, fully witnessing, fully acknowledging, and holding our shadow, not trying to convince ourselves that we aren't something. If you find yourself saying to yourself, I'm better now, then you haven't actually transmuted it, because we're the same that we've always been. Transmuting has to do with fully acknowledging all parts of ourselves, not rejecting or resisting anything that we were or are. So again, under this new moon, take time to reflect, take time to listen to yourself, and ask yourself about what's ready to be seen in your shadow. What's ready to come out? What is the magic that's connected with that shadow? Because again, all of our shadow is our fear, and our fear is where our freedom is. So if you have the time during this new moon, it's a powerful time to do this kind of setting intentions, using your words, speaking it out loud. If you're in Phoenix, I think I have 1 or 2 spots left for a sound healing. I'm also going to be offering a discounted rate on Sunday, November 3rd for somatic release and reprogramming. This is my work that has to do with how to get into the unconscious. This is exactly what I was talking about. If you do not want to spiritually bypass, then this is the work for you, where we go in and we feel and experience the stories that are on the inside of us that are keeping us blocked. And then we work on reprogramming them. So if you're interested in that, just connect with me. Other than that, I hope that you have a beautiful new moon in Scorpio, and talk to you soon.